I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow, and this is At Home in Bloomington, brought to you by Karen Russell, Ruoff Home Mortgage. We profile the people, places, and resources that make Bloomington, Bloomington, and help you live your best life. At Home in Bloomington. Welcome to At Home in Bloomington. I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow, and I'm joined by our show sponsor, Karen Russell, who is a senior loan officer at Ruoff Home Mortgage, or as I call her, the best damn lender in the state of Indiana. Were you doing a princess wave?
I was. I was waving to our fans and our audience.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited about today's show because it's a little bit outside my comfort zone, and that's always a good thing because you know what I say. You know my
There's no
my
crying.
motto.
There's no crying with Deb.
I do say that a lot because I'm a crier and people start crying, then I start crying. No, actually, success is right outside your comfort zone. So I always want to encourage. Do you not know I say that?
I've not heard that one. No.
I've done presentations on that. Anyways, success is right outside your comfort zone. Whenever I feel like I need to do something different to be a little bit more successful in my business or with my personal goals, I look at where my comfort zone is and then I go, I need to step right outside that. So today, I know this makes it sound super dramatic, but I'm stepping outside my comfort zone, and for most people, it's probably not their comfort zone, but it is. So our guest today is Jeff Grant with Hopscotch Coffee. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm going to preface this. I feel like I need to put a little disclaimer on this, that I am not a coffee drinker.
I used to be a coffee drinker.
Well, do you know why I'm not a coffee drinker?
I don't.
There's a reason, actually. There is a scientific reason. Because I always feel like people judge me, like, you're not cool because you don't drink coffee. These are all internal issues that I'm seeking therapy for, so don't worry about that. But my brother once told me that I was a super taster. And I always thought that he was just referring to this song by They Might Be Giants. You can Google that if there's a song called Super Taster. And so until I was actually prepping for this show, and I Googled Super Taster because it's like, oh, I'll just look up the lyrics to the song and it'll be something funny to, put in or whatever. I realized that being a super taster is actually a real thing.
You just have taste buds that are just pick up on everything.
Yes. So I found a site, and I think Rachel's probably going to put it up on our Facebook, where you can take a quiz to determine if you're a super taster.
Okay.
And I scored 19 out of 24.
Yeah, I'll probably score low on that.
You're not a super taster?
No.
So here's the thing. Our tongue is covered in tiny bumps that contain our taste buds, and that allows us, obviously, to taste food. The super tasters have many more taste buds than usual, and so they are much more sensitive to certain tastes and flavors.
Okay. So you're an overachiever, even with the taste buds.
What's my blood type?
A
positive, A plus.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. So it's not much of a superpower, but it means that foods can often taste really bitter. So like green vegetables like kale and broccoli, Mom, it's not my fault. You're the one who made me, Mom. So you're the reason that I don't like broccoli. Because I want to like broccoli.
I love broccoli.
I wish I could like broccoli. So, yeah, I scored a 19 out of 24 on this quiz that said you are probably a super taster. Being a super taster can mean that you don't enjoy intense tasting foods, but if you try them little and often, you can grow to like them over time.
Okay, so you can grow to like the broccoli.
And the coffee.
And the coffee.
I had to do that with wine. I had to build up to it. I know Karen's rolling her eyes like she came out of the womb liking wine.
No, I the only thing I had to build up to was going from a chilled wine to just a room temperature. And that was a hard adjustment. But wine is wine.
You have a tough life.
I know.
First world problems. Chilled or... Okay. So that being said, I do love a good chai latte, and I love the smell of coffee. And I was telling a story this morning of I have a friend who owns a coffee plantation on the top of a volcano in Hawaii called Anacona Farms. The coffee is amazing from the smell. Because she sent me a bag of coffee. I mean, these is like $50 for, a few ounces of coffee beans. And we were talking about how it smells like velvet to me. I don't know any other way to describe it. But so I do love the smell of coffee. And sometimes we do make coffee in the morning just to fill the house with that smell. And I love the idea of hanging out at a coffee shop, but it also intimidates me a little bit because I'm not used to going into coffee shops because I'm a coffee idiot.
Yeah, it's hard to go in and try to understand how to order your whatever it is.
So we're going to clear that up. So if you are not a coffee drinker, you really should listen to this show because you're going to hear everything that Hopscotch and their other locations have to offer outside of coffee. and be more comfortable going into that environment and understanding what those coffee shops have to offer in terms of our community. One of my favorite stories is I had a client just a few weeks ago that had a day full of showings. It was the first day her house was on the market. So she's like, I'm just going to go hang out at Hopscotch while all of these showings are going on. And then she posted on Facebook, Hopscotch has beer. And I was like, calm down now, because we're probably going to have to negotiate an offer here at some point today. So there's a lot more going on than just that. So we want to introduce that concept. And if you love coffee, then you can also listen and hear everything coffee related that Hopscotch has to offer. So I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to reintroduce, because I introduced him, but it's been about 5 minutes since I introduced him. I love my intros. Jeff Grant with Hopscotch. So again, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Can you start by telling us the story of Hopscotch, how long you've been around, and kind of how you got started?
Yeah. Well, we opened in 2014. It's coming, I think October will be 4 years.
Okay.
But I think the seed was planted before that. I was working as a barista in another coffee shop in town. My business partner now, Jane Cooper-Smith, who could not be here today, regretfully. She was a customer at that shop. I didn't know her well. I knew her husband. Eventually, I started playing music with her husband, Chris. And kind of learned that Jane was interested in roasting coffee and starting to do it from home. At some point, I left that job to go work at the Rainbow Bakery, which was opened by my brother-in-law, who was not my brother-in-law at the time, but he and his partner opened that bakery.
Okay.
So I went there and kind of worked the front of the house there for a while and helped them get started. And I kind of had the idea in my head, like, oh, this is so inspiring watching them like make something out of nothing and make this wonderful place. And I wondered if maybe they would have a coffee program there someday. Turns out that they were just wholly focused on the baking, which was a wise decision. So I think I started thinking in my mind, like, oh, maybe there's something out there, or there could be something out there that I could start, some sort of coffee shop. And so after about, the more I talked to Jane, the more I knew she was trying to get something going. I think her plans were, some sort of tasting room for her roastery, or for her roasting. And I don't really remember whose idea it was to join forces, but at some point it was, I think she asked me if I wanted to be involved, and I was like, yeah, this is something I've definitely thought about. I think it would be great to have a shop in town where the roasting also happened in the shop, because that's not something that Bloomington had.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I noticed from doing some research, and so I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because what makes Hopscotch different than probably anybody else in town, I don't know if anybody else is roasting, but
there's one now, but yeah.
Was that you're roasting your own beans and creating mixes.
Correct. Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. So that's sort of where the passion started from, was wanting, or is there a reason? I mean, obviously quality, right? Better quality to roast and don't have to ship and all that good stuff. But.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it. Yeah. I mean, you can make you can pair with a roaster in another town, and that's a pretty common business model, like, oh, we exclusively use this one roaster from another state or something like. But I think just being involved in the process from the very beginning was interesting to me, and just seemed like a good collaboration, barista and roaster.
Yeah. And it gives you a story.
Sure.
Right? You follow the coffee bean along, and there's a story there.
Yeah.
And I think that's, a big part of what makes you a destination. Is
Yeah, and I think we're both control freaks, and we realized that early on, and we're like, well, we can control everything.
Right.
We could, whether or not if we're doing a good job, at least we're controlling it.
Right. So your initial location is the one that's on Morton?
Yeah, on the Beeline Trail.
On the Beeline Trail.
Dodds.
So that's where you've always been. Okay. And there is good parking around there.
There is. People don't, it's not obvious because it's in the back. And sometimes even people find the parking in the back of the building and think it's just for the apartments upstairs, but it's really, you can park anywhere back there.
So there's the street parking too, across the street and also on the side. And
I'm not, the parking across the street is technically not ours, but.
On the weekends.
Well, I don't think anyone's going to stop you, is what I would say. Yeah.
So I just want to say, because that's one of the things, it's a newer area of town that sort of was built up, and it's super cute.
Yeah, and so that building, to my knowledge, was the first building, the trail went in, the Beeline Trail, and I'm pretty sure that was the first building that was erected facing the trail. You know, like the front door is on the trail. Yeah. So that's confusing to people. I get that. They think... I know I saw a review we had online that was like, there's nowhere to park and you have to access from the trail. I'm like, that's not true. I see how you think that, but that's not true.
I mean, I went down on a Saturday kind of midday, and there was street parking right on the side there, and it was, totally fine and honestly easier to get to than a lot of downtown things. So.
30 or so parking spots.
So I don't want that to scare anybody off.
Thank you.
So that's your initial location, and you've got a nice coffee house vibe there.
Yeah, and we even... if you were in there the first year, I don't know, but it used to be half the size.
Oh, okay.
We opened up a lot smaller, what felt like a good size, a modest size for us and felt appropriate. And really quickly we were like, oh, our problem is that there's not enough seating.
Yeah.
So within a year, because that building was new, there was no one next door. And we kind of thought like, this is a great location. There's going to be a restaurant in here next door to us any day now. Mm-hmm. Didn't happen. So a year went by and there was still available space, and we're like, well, we should take this now because who knows, we might never get another chance. So we knocked down a wall and added a lot of seating. There's 40 or so seats indoors, added a little kitchen prep area that we needed really badly, and got a lot more space.
And one of the things I noticed is that it doesn't feel crammed either. Sometimes you go into some coffee shops and the chairs and the tables are kind of all right on top of each other, and I felt like it was, fairly spacious. And I also really liked that you've got this huge covered veranda and you have tables out there.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
And you can just sort of hang out there. And so I did when I went a couple weeks ago, and I just kind of, hung out there for a little while.
Patio.
And just sort of watched the people pass. And but it's covered, so like rainstorms, it's probably an awesome place.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a cup of coffee and rainstorms. Really, really cool.
Yeah, we loved that building. I don't know that we had a plan B at the time. We were like, oh, we really want this location. If we don't get it, we're going to start from scratch. Right. But luckily, we got it.
So you've just opened a second location.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about that. That's on...
that is on... it's... Madison.
I was going to say, is it Madison or is one of the M streets?
Madison and Morton are often confused. It's on Madison, around the corner from Blooming Foods. That is a expressly to go location. So what happened is we were doing our roasting in the Beeline location, and it was great, and I think people enjoyed it, but it was a really hard workspace for us, and we were really quickly running out of room, and we were having to get huge pallets of coffee beans delivered, and we had to carry 150-pound bags up the ramp. And it was not it. It's great it was great for a while, but as soon as we grew a little bit, it was too small. So we moved the roaster off that location, and we were looking for another place to roast. And that was kind of the only idea, was like, maybe we'll just get a warehouse somewhere and roast. We just found that place down there, and it had the way it's laid out inside. There's just this little room in there that's tiny, and I was kind of like, I think if I plan this right, we can fit a whole other to-go location in here. So it, did all the drawings and measurements, and it's like fit all the equipment down to the inch, but it still feels comfortable. So it has a garage space next door, and that's kind of a production area for us, and the roasters in the back. So it's good because customers can still see the roasting, and we have a little bit of room. We do tastings on the weekends. And on Saturdays during the farmers market, we're right across the street from the farmers market, which was another great thing about that location. So on Saturdays, we don't really have a lot of roasting going on right now. So we've been letting people sit in there and set up tables during the market. And, you can pause while you're dealing with the chaos of the farmers market. Yeah, so that's been about a year and a half
A year and a
now.
half. And then your recent addition, kind of right smack dab in the middle of the two of those, is that you acquired Rainbow Bakery.
Yeah, that was happening. We were about a month away from opening the Madison Street location.
Yeah.
And Matt and Lisa, my brother and sister-in-law, they just put so much work into that place, and just they just burn out basically. And they were like, "This is not sustainable for us." And I think being a couple, Jane and I are business partners, and we have separate families, and so we don't take our work home, and
Sure. It's
I don't
not
know.
24/7.
Yeah, for them, I think it was really tough, and they just
I
couldn't
get that.
escape
Yeah.
their routine. So they made us a very gracious offer of seeing if we were interested, and it really blindsided us. And I think we might have even said no, or like, let us think about this. And then a few hours later, separately, like Jane and I met back up, and we were both like, we both think this is a good idea now. So it's been a year of trying to keep that going. It's been a challenge.
Crazy
But,
growth for sure. So, and Rainbow is still primarily focused on bakery items, like
Yeah, we changed up some of the coffee there, but its sole function is vegan baking.
Awesome. And then you still partner with some other businesses too at the Beeline location. I know we were talking before the show that I need, and I'm taking volunteers, like 3 or 4 people to come with me and try some of these pastries, because you can't pick just one.
Yeah, so we get a lot of
that's
Rainbow
amazing.
stuff there, and then we just, not prior to owning the bakery, we knew we needed non-vegan stuff, so we reached out to Maria, who owns Piccoli Dolci, and
Which
she
is amazing.
provided us a lot of good, authentic Italian pastries, and I think that helped her business take off too.
Yeah.
I think anytime we're trying to incorporate something new in our menu, the first place we look is what are people doing in town,
Right.
because that's better for
Local,
everyone
local,
and
we
easy
say
and
that.
fun. Yeah.
And then the other latest addition, I think this is fairly new, is beer.
Yeah.
Right?
That's less than a month at this point.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that was really like, once we moved the roaster out, there was kind of this dead zone on the back bar, and we were kind of like, well, we can't even really fit that many more tables here. What should we do? We thought maybe we'll put beer back there. And
is it going well?
it is going well. Yeah, we sell more during the day than I thought.
Day drinkers unite.
Yeah, and then we also stay open 3 hours later now, so we're open till 10 p.m. and
Okay.
still serving coffee.
Yeah.
But kind of able to change the vibe a little bit and make it a nighttime.
So
beer
tell me
drinking
what
vibe.
your hours are at the Beeline location.
7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
And that's every day?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, Saturday we open at 8 and Sundays we open at 9.
Okay.
But we stay open late.
Until 10. Great.
Yeah.
And then and the roastery, what hours?
7 to 7, and then,
Okay.
8 to 7, 9 to 7,
Gotcha,
Saturday,
7 till
Sunday.
7. Awesome. Cool. We are going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about your community involvement, because one of the
Sure.
things I noticed, if you go to their website, you have its own tab for things, for your community involvement, and you make it super easy for people to ask you for money.
Oh, do we?
It's just
Yeah, I
like,
guess so.
do you need a contribution?
Yeah.
Ask us. Here's how to ask us, which a lot of businesses make that really challenging. So
Sure.
that just said to me that you really do want to be involved in the community.
Great,
So I want to talk
yeah.
about that a little bit too. So stick around. You're at home in Bloomington.
Hi, this is Karen Rastel with Ruoff Home Mortgage. Did you know we are on the cutting edge of technology when it comes to applying for a mortgage? Loan Butler was created with you in mind. It's a fast, convenient, and secure way to apply online for a mortgage loan. It reduces the amount of paperwork and time for you. Save a tree and contact me today at 812-606-7653 for more details. Ruoff Home Mortgage is an Indiana corporation licensed by the Indiana Department of Financial Institutions. This is not an offer for extension of credit or a commitment to lend. All loans must satisfy company underwriting guidelines. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 141868.
This is your Real Estate Realist. Real advice on buying and selling real estate based on my experience closing over 800 home sales. Today's list is my top websites for home buyers and sellers. There are tons of resources out there, but which ones are accurate and actually helpful? Number 1, homefinder.org. This is the local realtor database of homes for sale. You can't search for homes in Costa Rica or London in here like you can on Zillow, but homefinder.org is the most up-to-date and accurate database for Monroe, Greene, and Owen counties. It even tells you if a home already has an accepted offer. Most other websites don't. Number 2, bankrate.com, or more specifically, bankrate.com/calculators. Here you'll find over 50 different calculators from mortgage payments to retirement savings, all important in planning out your finances. Wondering how long it might take you to pay off your student loan so you can afford more house? There's a calculator for that. How long will it take for you to pay off your car if you pay an extra $100 a month? There's a calculator for that. This is my idea of Friday night fun. Number 3, annualcreditreport.com. You can pull your credit report once a year for each of the 3 credit bureaus at no cost. So best practice is to pull it every 4 months from a different credit bureau. Annualcreditreport.com is the place to go. Take a quick look over your report regularly. Make sure there are no errors. Use it to strategize how to improve your credit. Protect your identity by making sure no unauthorized accounts have been opened. Keeping your credit report clean will help you move quickly when you find your dream home. And number 4, realrealestatetoday.com. Of course. My website has links to all my podcasts designed to educate you to be the smartest home buyer or seller you can be. For more of my top websites for home buyers and sellers, check out my Real Real Estate Today podcast, episode 14, on iTunes, YouTube, and all your favorite podcast sites.
My name is Donna, and my realtor is Deb Tomorrow. When it comes time to buy or sell a home, she is the obvious choice. Deb is not your average realtor. She stands beside you all the way, before, during, and after your real estate transactions. Deb is passionate about real estate, and it shows. So just do it. Choose Deb. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to At Home in Bloomington with Realtor Deb Tomorrow. That's me. And presented by Ruoff Home Mortgage Senior Loan Officer Karen Rastel, or as I like to call her, the best damn lender in the state of Indiana. I'm going to get everybody repeating that at some point. That's my goal in life.
I think my husband needs to be saying that. I think that's funny. That's how he should greet me when I come home from work. Yeah.
All right, I'll send him a text. Thank you. Before we get back to our conversation with our guest from Hopscotch Coffee, I have a little segment called Facebook Follow that I always share. I like to share a resource on the, as we call it, the Book of Faces. I guess we haven't really, follow me on Facebook. We're old, so we use Facebook. We're not on the Instagram or the Snap the Chat thing. So it's Deb Tomorrow Realtor. And so this episode's Facebook follow is Cut 'em Right Tree Service. As we all know, the signs when we come into Bloomington tell us that Bloomington is the city of trees. And if you own a home, you're probably going to have to deal with trees at some point. And it is expensive. Karen, have you ever had to cut down trees?
No.
Not yet. You're in a newer neighborhood, so they haven't gotten big enough yet. I live in a 100-year-old house on 5 acres, so we have some trees. And Kevin is the owner of Cut 'em Right, and I will tell you, he is so good. I can't even tell you how many times he's saved my home or a rental property or something. I mean, like literally saved. And I could make this an hour-long story, and I won't. But recently we had a tree falling in slow motion on our house. Every time the wind blew, it would move inches closer to the house, and it was just basically falling in slow motion. It was a Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock. And I actually called my insurance agent and said, hey, Mindy, we're going to have a claim this weekend because my house is about to get crushed. Because there was no way this tree was probably 100 and, I don't know, feet tall. It was, been there forever. And he came out, he was at my house within like 20 minutes. And I won't tell you how, I have video. I was not home.
I remember your video that you posted.
I have video of what he did to get that tree down and save my house. And it was amazing. He has my full endorsement. He has done tree work for me for years. So follow him on Facebook, Cut 'em Right Tree Service. He is fully insured and bonded. And it's cut with a K, not because he loves the Kardashians, but because his name is Kevin. So we'll put a link up on our Facebook page too. But that's my endorsement. Follow him. Support him. Okay, we are back with Jeff Grant of Hopscotch Coffee. Thanks for sticking around.
Of course.
So we've talked a lot in the first segment about your 3 locations, basically, with the roastery, the Beeline location, and then Rainbow Bakery. And we talked a little bit about roasting your own coffee. And I wanted to ask you, you come up with your own blends. And me not being a coffee drinker, that's like daunting. Do you just start throwing stuff together and seeing how it
Basically,
tastes?
yeah. I mean, I think once you kind of establish what what a certain bean tastes like on its own. And like I was saying earlier, like we just taste things and then come up with things that they taste like and then find kind of where we all agree. And it is like, it can be very subjective.
Yeah.
But then you just start thinking about what types of tasting notes or flavors will balance with one another. And yeah, I mean, sometimes we come up with a blend and excuse me, taste it and I'm like, well, no, that's not really good enough. You know, I mean, it's not a perfect science.
How many different types of beans are you working off of?
For a blend, it's usually no more than 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so are you always having new beans come in from different locations?
Yeah. So we kind of follow like the harvest around the globe because we can't really, you can buy a bean unroasted and store it for a long time. But we don't really have the space or the money to buy things in huge quantities. So we kind of, you know, we have our distributor we work with and we kind of check what's in season. And sometimes it's like, oh, we got that last year. It was great. Sometimes it's just, that sounds interesting or they recommended it. Sometimes there's people that do direct trade in other parts of the state that they'll be importing something directly and they'll say, hey, I'm going to buy a lot of this. I don't necessarily want it all. Are you interested in like splitting this shipment or something? So we can do that from time to time.
And so you don't necessarily have the same blends all the time. It's seasonal.
There are some that we do.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some we keep. But even that, kind of a little secret, is sometimes one of the components will have to be swapped out. Sometimes, like, our espresso blend will be missing the Nicaraguan or something. So we'll have to, like, kind of put something in that we think is really close, you know. So there can be some variation in there.
And I think that for coffee connoisseurs, they definitely kind of hone in on certain areas and certain...
Yeah.
My dad goes to Guatemala several times a year on... mission work kind of thing, and he's very, very like Guatemalan coffee.
Yeah, there's
like,
certain people zero in on what they like and stick with it. We have plenty of people who just want to try everything new. You know?
When you talk about seasonal, you know, that gets me thinking that coffee drinkers that you know I'm friends with, or my sister is a huge coffee drinker. You know, what is this like obsession with this time of year in the pumpkin? Like the, you know what I mean? Like having pumpkin in.
Right.
I guess I'm not a pumpkin person, but so like do you guys incorporate that into your blends?
We don't really.
Okay.
We don't do like flavored coffee. We can make plenty of flavored drinks, and I think that's what that is like a pumpkin
kind of
latte is like, yeah, you're adding pumpkin syrup. But you can buy pumpkin syrup year round. Like it's really a marketing.
Like right now, like people are like, "Thank goodness!" Like here it's back, and I thought, "Oh, okay." I'm not a pumpkin person.
There's no reason like Starbucks couldn't make it year round if they wanted to. It's really just a marketing
supply
thing.
and demand.
Okay.
Yeah, it's people start seeing pumpkins and thinking about pumpkins. They want to taste pumpkin.
Okay.
We're ready to put sweaters and boots on. And dress like Han Solo. Have you ever seen that? They wear like the brown vests and the white shirt and the jeans and the boots, and that you can put a girl dressed like that next to a picture of Han Solo, and it's the same person, basically.
Yeah, I don't think anyone out there is like going to a pumpkin patch and getting a truckload of pumpkins and making
crossbreeding them with coffee
it's all
beans.
just like canned stuff you can buy year round.
Interesting. So let's talk a little bit about your commitment to the community. It sounds like that was something that was important when you started.
Yeah. I think we feel like we are part of the community and have always felt that way. So it's always felt pretty natural.
Yeah.
And I think as soon as there were things we needed in the shop beyond coffee, we just looked for the local provider or our favorite of, a few options locally. And we've just kind of always done that and worked with people to get different ingredients and farms, like we make a kale smoothie and we can get local kale now. But yeah, I think you're also talking about donations and sponsorships and it's just it's just kind of a nice thing to be able to do. I don't know what else.
Well, it's funny because it's like, it's telling that you have trouble answering that question, because to you, it's just, that is my obligation and my,
I think we do feel
it never
that way.
was like,
Yeah.
should we support the community and should we support nonprofits? It's just, this is what we do. It's part of our business, our
And
business plan.
We do
our
what we
business model.
can. We don't say yes to everybody because we can't. So
right.
we do have to prioritize, like, maybe our our family is involved in this charity, or maybe it's like GLBTQ plus thing we think is important, or things that are important to our staff. We do try to like have some connection to the things we do. But those connections only grow and multiply.
Sure.
So like every year there's more and more. We're not able to like sponsor every Little 5 team that wants a sponsorship or something, but there's things we can do, and there's in-kind donations we can do, and we just make things happen when we can and when they seem worthwhile.
Have you done, I feel like I saw this, and I could be making it up, but I feel like I saw this, that where you create some special blends sometimes
Yeah, we've
for
definitely
a
done that.
nonprofit.
Yeah, Mother Hubbard's Cupboard, we've done that. That
And
was
then
a
you
good
just kind of
promotion.
sell the limited run special
Yeah,
blend.
exactly.
And then
So
they get
people come into the
proceeds
shop
from
and
it.
they're like, I don't know which coffee I want to buy, and they see this one. Well, this one supports Mother Hubbard's Cupboard. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And then we're
So-
able to donate some of the profits off that.
That's really cool. So is there one thing that you feel like the community may not know about Hopscotch or Rainbow Bakery that you really want people to know? I mean, this is sort of your opportunity to be like, I think we're misunderstood about this. We talked about parking, so that's one thing, right?
we got that cleared
There's
up.
parking.
Yeah, I think our identity has evolved a lot, and we've tried to compromise isn't the right word, but excuse me, don't normally talk this much. I think when Jane and I started, our idea was pretty simple and noble, and kind of like, we're just going to do a few coffees and it's going to be this small scale thing. And we really quickly realized, like, that's not what the community at large wants. Mm-hmm. There are those people there that want, really specific coffees to be imported and taste new stuff. And we still do that and do different brewing methods and stuff that the coffee community is excited about. But we're more like, I think we've grown to just try and welcome everybody and have a variety of beverages, non-alcoholic stuff, non-caffeinated teas. We've got kombucha on tap now. You mentioned we started doing beer. Mm-hmm. And I think we just want everyone to feel like they're welcome there. And you mentioned not understanding how to order off a coffee menu. And I think that's daunting for a lot of people. Yes. And we want to explain that to anyone that wants to know, but we're also not judging anything you order. I mean, we have a huge menu at this point. No one that works there cares what you order, And
I think that's great. We were talking before the show about this and how if you're not a coffee drinker like myself, it is very daunting to walk into a coffee shop and go, I don't want to look like an idiot. I don't want to order the wrong thing. And so my example was I walked in and I knew I wanted a chai latte because I do enjoy a good chai latte. And I ordered it, and thankfully there was only one size, so I didn't have to figure out like what does grande really mean.
Right.
And but then the person at the counter it was a hot summer day, and they said, "Do you want that iced?" And I was like, "That's exactly what I want." I didn't know that I didn't see it on the menu, so I was sort of afraid to ask. And I know, again, more therapy for me, but there is a segment of the population that gets a little overwhelmed and and that might keep them from trying something new. So what I hear you saying is, please come to Hopscotch.
Yeah.
Ask your questions. We're not judging. We want to help you
Absolutely
find a good fit for whatever it is that you're thirsty for.
There's a million, maybe not a million, but there's a lot of ways you can take the basic ingredients of latte, which is espresso and milk. Mm-hmm. And there's so many things you can add to that. There's so many different ratios, of milk to coffee that you can use, and hot versus iced. And we have something in both locations on our menu that says, don't see your favorite drink, just ask, because we have a lot of stuff. And to me, I don't like to go into a shop and see a giant menu and just be overwhelmed. with choices. So like what's written on the wall is kind of the basics. And then we have some specials that are stuff that staff has come up with or stuff that we're excited about. And a lot of those specials, we run out of room to write them somewhere. So, and every year we come up with a couple more, and then some person's like, well, why can't I get that cardamom soda with espresso that I got last year? And I'm like, you can. Like, it's not written here, but you can still do it, and maybe we'll promote it again. So I guess I'm just trying to say there's no right or wrong drink, and we can do lots of things. And
I've always wondered when you see, I've seen, various memes and whatever about people who are like, I order, this kind of coffee with 2 pumps of this and 1 pump of that, and 6 pumps of this. And you think, how did they even come up with that? Because it's got 7 different ingredients and there's a different number of pumps, for each ingredient. And I assume some experimentation, but my guess is that a lot of it started probably with a barista saying, you should try this. This is really good.
Yeah.
And sort of getting you off on a start with that. So I hear you saying, ask.
Yeah, definitely. I think the old school way of making coffee was to kind of over roast it and even burn it. And then that had to be compensated by adding sugar and cream. And I think that's how our culture kind of arrived to where we are, where we like to add lots of things to our coffee. And we'll add things to your coffee. But we try to have coffee that's good enough on its own, and bring out the natural flavors of it without over roasting it.
Interesting. Are there any new things on the horizon? It seems like you've brought on a lot of new things in the last year, right? In last year, you're like, right, let me just figure out the new normal.
Yeah, I mean, it is getting into fall, which means we'll change up our fall menu and we get cider from Musgrave, and that gets really popular. That's a local orchard. As far as like big projects, the beer project was kind of the most recent huge project for us. And after we did that, I was like, oh, can we be done with large projects that just take up all of my brain all the time? Yeah. So I don't know that there's anything major. We're just trying to kind of establish what the nights are like there, now that we're open 3 hours later. Like, can we bring in events? Can we welcome different types of groups that want to have events there? Just keep reaching out to different people.
So that leads me to my final question, which is, are there connections that you would like to make in the community to strengthen your business and to strengthen your mission? Sounds like maybe people who have some ideas for evening events might be a good connection.
Definitely. Yeah. I think we realized as soon as we opened, like, we can kind of set the tone for what the night hours are. There's not a precedent for there's not people that are like, well, I always came here to study, because there was no way they could have because we were closed. I don't know who we're trying to welcome, but we are kind of seeing who wants, you talked about trivia, and we're like, well, that's something we could do now that never made sense before.
Right.
So we are looking for things that can kind of fit in that 7 to 10 block of time that aren't too disruptive to our neighbors or anything like that. Whatever that might be.
Well, if anybody out there has any ideas, you can certainly hit us up.
Yeah, please get in touch.
So Hopscotch, the roastery, and Rainbow Bakery, and website,
Coffee.com.
Hopscotchcoffee.com.
We ship coffee. If anyone out of town is listening, we can send you something.
Amazing. Always fun to send Bloomington gifts to people. And then I'm sure you've got Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff.
We've got all that stuff.
So look them up and follow them, and you'll be able to stay abreast of the new specials that are going on.
That really is like our main. We don't do a lot of advertising. That ends up being our main outlets for letting people know about things.
Yeah, and what's going on and staying in touch. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
I really
my pleasure.
appreciate it. It was interesting, and I feel, Karen, hopefully you feel a little bit more empowered.
Yeah.
You said during the break, you're like, I think I need to go get some tea.
I do. I'm feeling under the weather today, and I'm feeling like they say, a good tea will help with that. So
awesome.
I can recommend some.
Yep. Sounds great. All right. Well, please be sure to tune in to our next episode of At Home in Bloomington. I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow, joined by Karen Russell, best-time lender in the state of Indiana, and we will be back next time. Got a show idea? I'd love to hear it. And be sure to contact me for all your real estate needs and questions, too. You can email me at deb@realrealestatetoday.com and follow me on Facebook at Deb Tomorrow Realtor. To contact Karen Rastel for all your mortgage needs, call 812-606-7653 or log on to ruoff.com and go to the Bloomington Center. Thanks to all the Bloomington people who make production of At Home in Bloomington possible. Special thanks to superstar producer Rachel G. Gregorio, digital guru Cynthia Hogan at Monster Digital Marketing for website design and hosting, and video genius Wes Lasher in the production house for engineering the show.